Alam nyo ba na in civil cases, both parties are required to share information and evidence before the trial? This is called discovery, like depositions, interrogatories, inspection of evidences, and other procedures. Now, what will happen if a party refuses to follow these rules and disobey the order of the court? Well, under Rule 29, refusals can lead to court order, sanctions, and even contempt.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to my vlog. So, what if you are now a lawyer? And during the oral examination and finding out the truth, one of the witness refuses to answer. Ano ang remedy dito? Let's find out the answer. The answer could be found on Rule 29, Section 1. Tara, isa-isahin natin. Mr. Santos, during the signing of contract, were you present?
I refuse to answer po.
May I know the reason?
I just don't want to answer po.
Under Rule 29, Section 1, kapag tumanggi ang isang witness or ang isang party during the oral examination, hindi na dito natatapos ang proseso or hindi dito natatapos ang proseso. Dahil gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, merong mga remedy. Either tapusin muna ng nagtatanong na abogado ang kanyang mga tanong o i-adjourn ito.
Pagkatapos, ang abogadong nagtatanong ay maaaring mag-file ng motion sa tamang korte. Kung mapatunayan na may substantial justification ang motion, maaaring isyuhan ng order to compel an answer ang isang witness. Pero paano kung wala? Ang kanyang motion ay maaaring ma-deny dahil sa kawalan ng substantial justification. So tandaan, mahalaga na may substantial justification ang motion na ihahain mo, future panyera. Then, sabi ni judge, during that incident, talaga sinabi niya to. The court finds that the question is relevant and proper. The witness is hereby ordered and answer the question.
What if the motion was filed without any substantial justification? Ano ang mangyayari sa abogado na nag-advise na to or nag-file nito? The court may order the opposing parties to pay the expenses such as attorney's fees of the opposing parties. So, what is the essence of Rule 29, Section 1? It protects the discovery process by ensuring that parties cannot simply refuse to answer proper question without valid reason. So remember this line, guys. If you refuse to answer without substantial justification, the court can compel you to answer and even pay you at the cost. So that's all, Rule 29, Section 1. Bye-bye!
Hi guys, this is Lou. Did you know that during a deposition, refusing to answer a question or refusing to be sworn may be considered contempt of court? Let's watch and
Rule
find out.
29. Refusal to comply with modes of discovery. Section 2. Contempt of court. If a party or other witness refuses to be sworn or refuses to answer any question after being directed to do so by the court of the place in which deposition is being taken, the refusal may be considered a contempt of that court. Please state your full name and be sworn to tell the truth. I refuse to be sworn. You are directed to be sworn and answer the question. I still refuse to answer. Your refusal after being directed by the court may be considered a contempt of court. The court may impose sanction which may include fines or imprisonment in accordance with law. Depositions serve as a device for ascertaining the facts relative to the issue of the case. The evident purpose is to enable the parties, consistent with recognized privileges, to obtain the fullest possible knowledge of the issues and facts before civil trials and thus prevent the said trials from being carried out in the dark. The court has the authority to control the deposition and ensure that the witness cooperate. If a witness or a party refuses to be sworn or refuse to answer after the court ordered them to, their conduct disrespect the court. Such refusal can be punished as contempt of court to uphold the authority and dignity of the court. Respect the court, tell the truth, answer when directed.
In addition, under Rule 135 of Rules of Court, Section 5, Inherent Power of Court, it gives courts a necessary authority to keep order, to make people obey to the lawful order, to require witness to appear and testify, administer oaths, and ensure the proper administration of justice. This is a reminder that we are in court. We must respect and obey lawful order, especially during a deposition. Failure or refusal to comply with a court order, such as refusing to be sworn or to answer a question after being directed to do so, may result in contempt of court under Rule 29, Section 2 of the Rules of Court.
Pausapan po natin ang Rule 29, Section 3 of the Rules of Court. Ang Rule 29 po ng Section 3 ay ang enforcement mechanism na ang patakaran niya ay pagtuklas ng mga ebidensya. Ginagamit po ito ng korte upang parusahan ang mga partido na matigas ang ulo at ayaw sumunod sa isang umiiral na nag-uutos ng ang korte na mag-obliga sa kanya na magbigay ng mga impormasyon, dokumento o pahayag sa isang eksaminasyon. Hindi maaari po mag-apply agad ng Section 3 maliban na lamang po sa una na nagkaroon ng utos ang korte sa ilalim ng Section 1 Rule 29. Ito po yung order to compel an answer na nag-utos sa partido na sumagot o mag-produce ng ebidensya. Pangalawa po, nilabag o tinanggihan ng partido ang utos na ito na walang sapat na dahilan. Gaya po ito na itinakda ng Korte Suprema sa isang kasong Haravata versus Carolus, hindi maaari parusahan agad ang isang partido nang hindi muna dumaan sa proseso ang pagkuha ng utos mula sa korte na nag-utos sa kanya na sumunod. Ang korte po ay binibigyan ng malawak na kalayaang pumili o discretion na nararapat na parusa batay sa tindi ng pagsuway. Ito po ang mga halimbawa dyan. Adverse inference o pagpapalagay na napatunayan na ang katotohanan. Maaaring iutos ng korte na ang mga bagay na tinatanong ay tinuring na totoong napatunayan pabor sa partidong humingi ng discovery. Halimbawa po, kung tumanggi maglabas ng kontrata ang isang partido, maaaring itakda ng korte na ang nilalaman ng kontratang ito ay pabor sa kalabang partido. Ang isa pa po ay ang pagbabawal sa paghaharap ng ebidensya o depensa. Maaring pagbawalan ang ayaw sumunod na partido na tumutol o sumuporta sa ilang mga claim o ipagbawal siyang magharap ng particular na dokumento o testimonya sa husgado. Ang pangatlo naman po ay matinding parusa sa pleading, pagpapahinto, dismissal o default judgment. Ito po ang pinakamabigat na parusa. Maaari pong burahin o strike out ang kanyang mga pleading, ipahinto ang mga kasong hanggang sa siya ay sumunod, o i-dismiss ang kanyang kaso o ang kanyang depensa. At pang-apat naman po ay maglabas ng default judgment laban sa kanya, at ang pinakahuli po ay ang pag-aresto sa partido. Bilang kahalili o karagdagan sa mga nasa itaas, maaaring ipa-aresto ng korte ang suwail na partido o ang kanyang ahente. Halimbawa po, si Juan ay nagsampa ng kasong breach of contract laban kay Pedro. Si Juan po ay nag-claim nang hindi nagbayad si Pedro sa kanilang kasunduan sa pagbebenta ng gamit. Sa panahon po ng discovery, nagpadala si Juan ng written interrogatories kay Pedro sa ilalim ng Rule 25. Tinanong ni Juan si Pedro na ilista lahat ang resibo at bank deposit na may kaugnayan sa transaksyon. Pero tumanggi ho si Pedro na sumagot. Dahil dito, nag-file po si Juan ng motion o motion to compel sa korte. Pagkatapos ng pagdinig, naglabas ang korte ng order under Rule 29, Section 1 na nagsasabing si Pedro ay inuutusang sumagot sa mga interrogatories at mag-produce ng mga resibo at bank statement sa loob ng 10 araw. Lumipas po ang 10 araw at talagang hindi na sumunod si Pedro. Hindi siya nagbigay ng mga anumang dokumento at hindi na rin sumagot sa mga tanong. Nag-file si Juan ngayon ng motion upang ipatupad ang Section 3. Maaari ngayong gawin ng korte ang aliman sa mga sumusunod. Ilalim o itinakda ng korte na itinuring na napatunayan na si Pedro ay tumanggap ng bayad at mayroon na siyang mga resibo at napatunayan ang kanyang pagkakautang. Pangalawa naman po, pagbawalan si Pedro na maghanap ng anumang ebidensya. Pangatlo naman po, kung talagang matindi ang pagsuway o naapektuhan nito ang kakayahan ni Juan na patunayan ang kanyang kaso, maaari nang burahin ang sagot ni Pedro o i-dismiss ang depensa ni Pedro o maglabas ng default judgment laban kay Pedro. Pang-apat po, sa sobrang tigas ng ulo ni Pedro, maaari ring ipaaresto si Pedro bilang paghamak sa korte habang hinihintay ang kanyang pagsunod.
POV. One simple no in court can cost you thousands of pesos. Okay, bestie, here's today's legal chica. Let's talk about Rule 29, Section 4 of the Rules of Court. And trust me, this is one of the rules that basically says, if you made someone spend money proving something you already knew was true, don't be surprised if you end up paying for it. So here's the scenario. Before the trial even starts, the other party serves you with a request for admission under Rule 26. Basically, they're asking you, can you admit that this document is genuine? Or can you admit that this fact is true? Now, if you honestly believe it's true, that's okay. You can deny it. But let's say you deny it anyway. So because of your denial, the other party now has to bring documents, witnesses, or even specialists to prove that what they were asking you was actually true. Then, trial comes. The judge looks at all the documents and evidence and says, yes, the document is genuine, or yes, that fact is true. Here's where Rule 29, Section 4 comes in. The party who proved that the document or the fact can ask the court to order you to pay the reasonable expenses they incurred in proving it, including reasonable attorney's fees. Notice I said the word can, because it's not automatic. The court will first determine whether your denial was reasonable. Because if you had a good reason to deny it, maybe you genuinely believed that the signature wasn't yours, or you had legal doubts on the document, then the court may refuse to make you pay. So what's the lesson here? This rule isn't trying to stop people from defending themselves. It's trying to stop unnecessary denials that waste everyone's time, money, and court's resources. So if a fact is obviously true, and you know it's true, don't deny it just to make the litigation harder. Because that one unnecessary denial could come with a very expensive receipt.
Hi, let's talk about Rule 29, Section 5 of the Rules of Court, or simply what happens when a party ignores the discovery process. Imagine this, you're invited in a group project. Everyone is there except one classmate. No chat, no message, no excuse. Then when it's time to submit his part, he still doesn't send anything. That's basically what Section 5 of Rule 29 trying to prevent. Under this rule, if a party willfully fails to attend the scheduled deposition after receiving a proper notice or fails to answer written interrogatories under Rule 25, the court can impose a sanction. So what can the court do? First, the court may strike out all or part of the party's pleading. In simple terms, it's like erasing part of their argument in the case. Second, the court may dismiss the case if the non-complying party is the one who files the case. Third, if the non-complying party is the defendant, the court may declare that party in default, meaning the case can proceed without hearing that party's side. And lastly, the court may order the non-complying party to pay the reasonable expenses incurred by the other party, including the attorney's fees. But take note, the rule says that the failure must be willful. That means that the party intentionally and deliberately refused to cooperate, not because of a valid and avoidable reason. So what is the purpose of this rule? Simple. Discovery is meant to help both parties to gather facts fairly and avoid unreasonable delays. If one party refuses to cooperate, the court has power to impose penalty and keep the case moving and protect the rights of the other party. And that's Rule 29, Section 5 in a nutshell. Remember, ignore the discovery process and you risk losing your pleadings, your case, or even having judgment entered against you.
Hi, this is Lai. So I'll be discussing Section 6 of Article 29. Are you now ready? If Rule 29 talks about the refusal to comply with modes of discovery, who will suffer the expenses and penalties charged by the court? To better understand this, let's discuss this particular scenario. So this is the case. The government is a party in my case and refused to comply with the discovery order. Can I still recover attorney's fees and expenses from the Republic the way I could from a private litigant under this rule? So it is obvious here that the answer is no, because according to Section 6, it exempts the Republic of the Philippines from having expenses and attorney's fees imposed on it under this rule, even where a private party in the same situation would be liable for them. This exemption is limited to money sanctions, expenses, and attorney's fees. This exemption covers only money sanctions, and it doesn't shield the Republic of the Philippines from other discovery sanctions like its compelled answers or dismissal. For you not to forget, I just want to reiterate that expenses and attorney's fees under Rule 29 are simply not to be imposed on the Republic of the Philippines, regardless of which specific provision of the rule will otherwise support such an award. This applies across the various discovery sanctions provisions throughout the Rule 29. Whether the basis would otherwise be a refusal to answer, a failure to comply with a production order, or a party disobedience of a discovery order. Generally, none of them can be used to charge the Republic of the Philippines with this particular cost. The prohibition is categorical and not left by case-to-case discretion within the Rule 29 itself. This exemption binds only the Republic itself as a litigant. So it doesn't extend to a government-owned or controlled corporation or a local government unit sued in its own separate capacity. Let's dig deeper to what this doesn't affect. This exemption is limited to money sanctions, expenses, and attorney's fees. Nothing in this section, on its own text, exempts the Republic from other sanctions available under this rule, such as orders compelling answers, as I have mentioned a while ago, or the pleading and dismissal sanctions in Section 5. The court has still the right to order to produce documents, answer interrogatories, or submit to the other coercive measures the rule authorizes. Only the shifting of money, expenses, and attorney's fees to the Republic is off the table. You may also ask why this carve-out exists. So it reflects the general principle that costs are not typically assessed against the state, absent a clear statutory basis. The reason behind is since public funds collected for public purposes should not be diverted to satisfy private litigation costs without a clear legislative or rule-based directive authorizing it, even where the Republic's non-compliance with discovery is clear. So what does it mean? This is an exemption. So in other words, to be clear, if the government is involved in a case and refuses to comply with the discovery orders or procedures, the court cannot order the Republic to pay the opposing party the cost or attorney's fees for the non-compliance.
Now, why Rule 29 matters? Well, Rule 29 is important because it helps ensure that everyone involved in the case follow the rules during the discovery process. If a party refuses to answer questions, provide documents, or obey court orders without valid reason, it allows the court to impose penalties. This also helps to ensure that the case is fair, prevents delays, and allows the court to decide based on complete facts and evidence. And this is Group 5. See you again on our next Legal Knowledge vlog.